So I've been a Spider-Man fan my entire life, and this past week it is completely paid off with Spider-Man No Way Home coming out. I grew up on the Tobey movies, saw the Andrew movies when they came out, and was excited to see when Spider-Man was finally brought to the MCU with Tom Holland, and this past week we got Spider-Man No Way Home. And that inspired me to go ahead and rank all the live-action Spider-Man movies. And before we start, I do want to note that I love all three Spider-Men equally. I think they all bring something special to the role, so just because their movies may be lower doesn't mean I don't still have a special place in my heart for these movies. There are 8 live-action films, and in 8th place is The Amazing Spider-Man 2. Don't get me wrong, there's parts of this movie I enjoy, but the other parts that I don't enjoy just really bring the movie down. Like, I enjoy the villain Electro, and I enjoyed his backstory, but then they had to bring in Green Goblin and their emo Harry, and I didn't like that. But I will say I never emotionally recovered from Gwen Stacy's death. I think that was the saddest thing I saw when I was a kid. It just broke me because I absolutely love Gwen Stacy. She is one of my favorite comic characters, definitely one of my favorite Spider-Man characters. So seeing her die and just the pain that caused Peter, it broke me. In 7th place, we have Spider-Man 3. I feel like that movie and The Amazing Spider-Man 2 struggle with the same thing of having too many villains and not doing it well. Spider-Man 3 had 3 villains, and we had to get the backstories for 2 of them, and one of them it was kind of their villain origin story. Like, we already had seen Harry before, but it was more like, hey, this is why he's a villain now. And it just didn't work well, but that movie gave us some great memes, and it is still really fun to watch. Just compared to the others, it's not as good. In 6th place, I hate to put his movies both so low, it is The Amazing Spider-Man. Now, I need to make this clear, I absolutely love Andrew Garfield, especially as Peter Parker in Spider-Man. I think he brings so much to the role, and same with Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy, but the movies just really struggled with some poor writing, and that's not their fault at all. If they had the right writers, I could totally see this movie being way higher on my list, but it's just a decent Peter origin film that at some points feels a bit too long. I think both The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2 are over 2.5 hours, and I feel like both of them could have been shorter and would have been better if they edited it down. Then 5th place, we have Spider-Man Far From Home. I think this is a really fun movie. I do enjoy it, but it doesn't feel like a Spider-Man movie. You could have given this movie to any other young new person being introduced to the Avengers, and it probably would have felt the same. But I do really enjoy this movie and have fun watching it. In 4th place, we have Spider-Man Homecoming. I remember seeing this movie in theaters for the first time, and I loved it, and I still do really love this movie. I think the twist of Vulture being Liz's dad, that for the longest time was like, I still would say to this day, one of the biggest Marvel twists I've seen. I found that more shocking than when Mysterio revealed Peter's identity in Far From Home. It was just like, what? Oh my goodness, how's he going to deal with this? And even though it does mention Tony Stark a good amount and still relies on him, it does give more like the high school vibes, the Peter Parker comic vibes that Far From Home is missing. And I do love how it shows you Peter is still a student. I feel like though he was in school in Tobey and Andrew's movies, it felt more like school was important in this one than just a location like it was in the other 2. And Spider-Man Homecoming is one I feel like I could rewatch all the time. I've watched it at least 3 times this year, maybe 4 times, and I can never get enough of that movie. Into our top 3. In 3rd place, we have Spider-Man. This movie changed my life as a child. Seeing it, I was just blown away. I used to make my family like act it out with me. I would quote the "stop the bus" scene all the time. Every time we were in the car and my mom had to stop, which I apologize. I feel like that must have been so annoying for her. But I love that movie. It is what shaped me into the person I am today, the absolute Spider-Man fan I am. And I think that this is the best origin film of all the Spider-Man movies we have seen. It really follows the comics and is to the point. And it also has just such memorable lines. And I just love this movie. Also, Willem Dafoe is amazing as Green Goblin. I remember as a kid, I was scared of him. He was just so incredible playing both roles, and I think he is the best villain of any Spider-Man villain we see in these 8 movies. So in 2nd place, we have Spider-Man 2. I really like seeing Peter not knowing how to balance his Spider-Man life and his Peter life. I find that really interesting. And Doc Ock is such a complex villain that I love because he's not really a villain. It's not his fault what he's doing. And I just think that role is incredible, and the movie is incredible. Great action. I mean, the train scene, never can get enough of that. And like Spider-Man, it is a film that I grew up loving. So, and then in 1st place, drum roll please, to no one's surprise, it is Spider-Man No Way Home. Spoilers ahead. Spider-Man No Way Home is a movie Us Spider-Man fans have been waiting our whole lives for, pretty much. My entire life has built up to No Way Home. Seeing all the villains come back, all the Spider-Men come back, it was incredible. The movie came out on Friday. I've seen it 4 times so far. I absolutely love it, and I want to see it just every day. While it's great getting to see the villains we grew up on, I think that Willem Dafoe especially, he steals it. He is incredibly mind-blowing as Green Goblin. He's even more of a menace than he was back in 2002. And the movie does so good at bringing back references from the original movies, but making it not cringy, which I would say is very hard for a movie to do. And of course, all 3 Spider-Men are in it. After seeing this movie, I can no longer tell you who my favorite Spider-Man is. I think they all bring something special to the role, and seeing the 3 of them interact was just something truly incredible. It shows you that with good writers, Andrew would have probably been the best Peter Parker. It shows you Tobey all grown up, and he's still thriving and doing great, and it makes me so happy. He has some hilarious lines, and how good of a mentor he can be, and it truly made Tom Holland Spider-Man for me. I mean, holy heck, that movie, the amount of pain he went through in that movie, the sacrifices he was making, it was incredible. He was able to have such raw, strong emotions. It was mind-blowing. I was so happy seeing this, and the fact that it makes it so I can no longer tell you who my favorite Spider-Man is, I think that is amazing. No Way Home is definitely my top live-action Spider-Man movie, and definitely my top MCU movie. But if it's all Spider-Man movies, it might be tied with Into the Spider-Verse, because Into the Spider-Verse and No Way Home did the same kind of concept of, oh, multiple Spider-Men, but one ended happy and the other one broke me into a million pieces. So yeah, thank you so much for watching.